friends, welcome to Flory Models. Here we are on the 2nd of February 2017. Yeah, February, not January. Crikey, I've only just got used to saying 2017, let alone 16. And when you do it every single day like I do, that's it. It's one of those things. Anyway, thank you for all the kind feedback from yesterday. Thoroughly enjoyed taking you through the tools thing. And actually, it was only when I got into editing and I realised it takes like half an hour. And that's just one cabinet. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a bit of a series. I'm not going to do it every day because obviously it'll just bore everyone to death. But what I'll do is probably do one part a week, something else like that. And then what we'll do is we'll do a proper link system so you can watch one after the other. So we'll work our way slowly around. We'll also talk about the kits, why I've got some kits, why, you know, because I've got some quite quirky ones in my collection, things like that. So we'll speak about those, speak about obviously the done models, the bigger tools that I use and everything else like that. And we'll work our way right the way around here. We'll go right in depth about the spray booth, although we've just covered it, so that'll probably be one of the last things. But obviously the paints, the bits and pieces like that, and then obviously the computer equipment, cameras, lighting, sound, you name it. We'll cover absolutely everything over the next few weeks. So hopefully it'll be quite an interesting series for you to see. But like somebody pointed out to me, it's lovely that I sort of say what's crap when I was going through the tools and all the rest of it. And like, why do you still have it? Well, I still have it because it's still a backup to something. So, you know, it's like scribing tools and things like that. When you look at the trumpeter one, I still think it's one of my favourite ones, and the Alec one is far too thin and stuff like that. But only yesterday I was just doing a little bit of work on something else and I used the very, very thin one. I needed an extremely thin line. The Alec one is definitely for that. So sometimes you might have a tool that you might use once a year like that. Other tools you'll use every single day of your life. So generally, it's just one of those things. Keep everything. I'm a hoarder, complete and utter hoarder, as you'll see in the next one when we look in the other drawers, because they're full of paints that I don't technically use now, but I do use, weirdly, and everything else. So here we go. This is cracking on very nicely with the Hog. I must admit, you hear the horror stories, and to be honest, I've heard loads of horror stories on this particular kit and everything else like that. And so far, the only problem I've had is the black box, which is cutting edge cockpit, doesn't fit. But now we've managed to fit it in and do a little bit of work to it and sort it out and everything else like that. It's looking really, really nice, and it's coming together very, very well. No real problem with the nose well system fitting in here down the bottom. I'll show you close up in a moment, but generally it is going in very, very nicely. And as I said, we've got the wings done now, so we can literally just shove these on for the minute. Okay, and yeah, as you can see, she is going to be one hell of a lump. Where the hell I'm going to put it is beyond me. I must admit, I have got, there's some changes. We'll speak about it a lot in the next coming weeks. But as I say, we've got lots of changes starting to be implemented between now and April. And one of them is I'm going to get a nice new office upstairs and everything else like that, because there's some things happening with the sales side of it, various bits and pieces like that. So what we're going to do is have a bit of a move around and everything else. So I'm going to have lots of shelf space up there. For paperwork and editing stuff and the boring stuff. So this is where these are going to live. I think it's going to be my DCS collection and everything else like that. Anyway, enough talking about it. I'll show you what we've got. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll try and do it this way. Okay, so hopefully this will play ball and we can show you. Okay, if it's going to focus in. So there we go. There's the cockpit tub. Technically what you need to do is sort of show you at this angle, because all the camera lights are from this way. Okay, and as you can see, it's looking very much the part. Quite happy how this has turned out and the way it's actually going together. As you can see, you know, just this has gone in very nicely. Underneath we can see we got this in there, everything else like that, and generally seam line checking. So this is just literally black acrylic paint just to check the seam lines. So what it is, it's already had one sand, and then I put a little bit of black down it, and then we'll sand over it with more of a polisher just to see exactly what we've got and how it's coming along. But generally, hopefully you can see, come on, focus, there we go. It is working very, very well, and I must admit we had a bit of a check earlier to make sure the canopy fitted on, and he does go on very, very nicely. Now the rear one, this box back here again is too tall, so where have I put the big canopy, which was around here, sorry, it's gone. But yeah, so it doesn't technically fit because it won't fit under here. What have I done with it? There's a bit of a worry. I've put the canopy down somewhere. Here it is, because it's clear. But when you try and put this on, it rubs slightly up against this box at the back. So Not quite sure. It's not going to affect me because I'm going to have it canopy open anyway, but it's just a bit of annoying that it doesn't go. But generally, when we've put this on to see about the spread, it's exactly the same thickness down in here. The canopy actually, as I said before, once we get it all cleaned up, is exactly the right width, and there is no real gap around it and everything else like that. So that is looking really, really nicely. So that's coming together very good. As I say, got to do the gun section underneath. We're going to put all the detail in there. We've got the ammo chutes and the various parts. They're all going to go in there like that. We're going to dry brush this guy up, and then we can get that installed inside there and everything else. And you might see in there I've got some of that blue tack, which I'm going to have to dig out in a minute. Now it's all dried off and gone in there, so we'll get rid of that. We might put in a little bit of plastic card in there, just a little bit of ribbing work, just to make it look a little bit like this. So we'll get that in there. But generally, that is the last of the horrible jobs. It's now worked very, very nicely. It has come together. Very happy of how it's all turned out and everything else like that. So in some ways, it's definitely, I can try and get this back on the tripod now, it's definitely been a bit of a labour of love to do it all. But that said, it's now worked. So from that point of view, it's like, right, okay, we had all those fit issues, a few little problems trying to get that cockpit in. Let's just shoehorn it in. We'll worry about it later. Now it's in there. That's done. So what I can actually do now is clear the desk off. We can get rid of all this horrible dust and junk and debris that's everywhere around here, and start back trying to get back on track with it. So hopefully this afternoon I'm going to get the wings installed onto this. Those can be drying off and going off and everything else like that. I'll probably, to be honest, we'll take the tails off, but the tailplanes can go on as well, so we'll get that fitted up here and installed, and we're happy with that. And then that way we're in that situation where all the big join and problem areas and stuff like that have been sorted. Then it'd be a case of just popping around re-riveting it. We have got raised rivets, and we've got, obviously we can revisit with Rosie the Riveter and do it by hand, because some of these are quite big. And generally just make sure all the seams are done, all the panel lines are okay, and obviously we've got no marks or anything else like that. So I can envision this actually being in paint and moving on very nicely by Monday. Okay, so we'll be able to get that in there. In the meantime then, whilst that's going to be in paint and various things drying and going off like that, we can get on with things like the gear. The weapons fit. The weapons fit, I'm going to play it pretty mediocre. I'm not going to do one of these things that everyone does and stick, you know, a load of like Mavericks coming off on triple rails. I'm probably going to play it quite calm and put twin Mavericks on, both types, and then perhaps a light cluster bomb unit, things like that underneath it and everything else. But I'm not going to sort of load it completely down, because technically they don't really fly around like that. So that's the point of that one. But it is coming along very, very nicely, so that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and get this all together, and then join me back this afternoon, and we'll see if we've got the wings on. And welcome back. So A10, let me show you what we've got. There it is, all jigged in and sorted out. To be honest, we used a little bit of filler just down in there. We actually used a little bit of plastic putty just down in those grooves down there, because to be honest they weren't exactly brilliant. But there we go, that's what it looks like. It's jigged onto there. It's say an A2 cutting mat, so that gives you an idea of the size of this thing. It is a monster. So yeah, it's taking a lot of bench room, but hopefully by Monday we'll be out the way. We'll be able to get it into the actual spray booth and work on it whilst we do other things here on the desk. But I have to say, sometimes you hear that little thing about people are, you know, they built it and all the rest of it, and they're like, oh, it's unbuildable, it's not nice, it's pretty crap and everything else like that. Honestly say, this particular build I've had no problems with. I've had no more problems with this than any other build I've been doing. I've had nothing that's unworkable. And I know people have said about all the resin cockpit and everything else like that, and you get the bays in there. Yeah, but just push through with it. Just get them in there. Any way it takes, just get them in there. Once they're in there, then you can sort of juggle things around and everything else like it. But I can honestly say I've had no problems with this at all, and it's actually turned into a really fun build. Yeah, it's been sat down there for the last 2 years, and I've been off-put by the amount of work it was going to take. But here we are, we're working on it really 2 weeks. And if you were doing it in sort of, you know, hours and bits and pieces, it's probably only 3 days work so far, and no problems at all. It's going together very, very well. Various things, it's showing its age. I explained during the video build of it and everything else, but we'll be saying as well, if it was modern kit, it'd have wing spars to show the weight. This is very old school, where you've got a couple of tabs and it goes in slots on the side of the aircraft. That's very old school, and basically been superseded by far better strengthening, and it keeps things level and the right alignments. It should have that, it hasn't, but there we go. But generally, I have to say, really, really enjoying with it, coming along. And I said, Monday we'll be in the spray booth. By the end of next week, it'll be really taking shape. So we intend to get the gear sorted out for it. We'll get the pylons, the weapons and everything. So when it comes out of the spray booth, it really will be a case of getting to final assembly, and then we can go through weathering and everything else like that. So there we go, very nice. The next part of this is probably going to be on Monday. To be honest, tomorrow I've got a very, very busy day, because in the morning I'll be doing the show, the catch-up show, you guys, and everything else, and obviously we'll be talking about a certain airbrush that we're going to be giving away. So we've got an Iwata airbrush coming out for you. We're going to be speaking all about that. And then in the afternoon, to be honest, I got a meeting with the accountant, and then straight after that I got a meeting with a business manager in the bank. So one of those horrible days tomorrow afternoon, so I'm not going to get any time sat in here, so to speak, working on this guy. But next week, fear not, we will be pushing through. But when we say this, I have finished though something I should have done a long time ago. This is the long-awaited Meet My Metal SIG reveal video. Fantastic work. The standard as ever goes up and up and up with every single SIG and group build we do. This one is no exception. Some beautiful work, so I'm going to leave you with that one. Hopefully the medals will be here next week for the actual Big in Japan group build. Not really my fault, to be honest. It's that thing, when we do them around Christmas, they have such a lot of work with engraving and everything else like that. They also then go on holiday, which I wasn't totally aware of, but then they do 2 weeks shutdown after Christmas, and then the company I use are back on it. So they will be here next week. They're just finishing them off now. They've assured me they'll go out on the courier first thing next week, so they'll be here. I'll get all your details. We'll do the final video for that one as well, and everything else like that. So fear not, they are coming. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with Meet My Metal SIG. As I said, beautiful work. Please watch it. It's well worth it right the way through to the end. And it'll be a standalone video as well in the forum. And I will link it down to the actual full reveal SIG entries down in the bottom of the forum as well. So fear not with that. So till tomorrow, everybody. Happy modelling. Take care. And here's the Meet My Metal SIG.